What would you do if your own family told you to stay away from an event you'd spent years quietly paying for? And what if the moment they pushed you out was the same moment you finally woke up to who they really were? My name is Mia Parker. I'm 28, and I work as a junior pediatric nurse in Colorado. But that night, the night everything cracked, it didn't matter who I was outside the family. Inside it, I'd always been one thing, the dependable one, the one who makes things easier, the one who never asks for anything back. And for most of my life, I believed that role was love. Before I take you into the moment everything collapsed, hold on. Before we get into the real stuff, I want to know, what are you doing at this exact moment while hearing my voice? I genuinely love reading your answers down in the comments. Anyway, back to it. The whole mess started with a normal Wednesday. A normal text. A normal, "Hey honey, call us when you can," from my mom. The kind of message that sounds warm, but when you grow up with a mom like mine, you learn it's the prelude to something she wants. Her name is Denise. And in my family, Denise isn't just a mom. She's a conductor, and everyone else is the orchestra she expects to play on cue. My dad, Mark, is quiet. He floats behind her like a shadow with a wallet. And my younger sister, Shelby, well, Shelby has always been the sun. Bright, adored, untouchable. I grew up orbiting her glow. But here's the thing. The glow comes from everyone else feeding it. The first time I covered one of Shelby's expenses, I was 19. Just started my CNA job. Mom said, "It's just until we catch up on a few things." But a few things turned into tuition, supplies, new tires, a cheer camp, senior portraits, emergency shopping trips. And every year the list got longer, sneakier than expected. Fast forward to now. Shelby's about to graduate from a nursing program across the country. Everyone kept calling it our accomplishment. Funny how it was our when it needed paying for, and hers when it came to celebrating. So when Mom texted me that Wednesday, I already felt the familiar tightness in my chest, the one I get when I know I'm not being called as a daughter, but as a resource. Still, I called. "Finally," Mom said, "not even a hello. We need to go over a few things for Shelby's graduation." I pushed down the sting. "Okay, what things?" "The balance," she answered. "As usual. As usual." Those two words made something in me twitch. I'd already paid the last invoice. I knew I had. But Mom said, "No, Mia, there were new charges. You didn't handle it." The way she said it, like I had failed an assigned chore, made my jaw clench. "I didn't know about any new charges," I told her. "Well," she breezed, "you do now." Before I could respond, she added, "Oh, and we're doing a full family Zoom on Friday. Don't be late this time. It's important." Then she hung up. No explanation. No kindness. Just the familiar expectation that I would fall into line. But something in me didn't. I checked the student portal. New charges were there, but they'd been added under an authorized user account. An authorized user I never approved. I checked the name. Shelby. My stomach dropped. And that sinking feeling only deepened when I scrolled through the recent payments tab and saw an actual attempt, to set up an automatic draft from my card. I never gave her that information. I sat there on my bed, staring at the screen, my pulse thudding in my ears, my throat tight. It wasn't confusion. It wasn't anger. It was something colder. A realization. They didn't see me as family. They saw me as access. And I knew, deep in my bones, that Friday's Zoom wasn't going to be important. It was going to be the moment they tried to lock me back into the role I'd been playing my whole life. And when that moment came, I wasn't sure if I'd stay quiet anymore. I swear, something about that Friday felt wrong the second I woke up. You ever have one of those mornings where the air just feels heavy? Like your body knows what's coming before your brain does? Yeah, that was me. All day at the hospital, I kept zoning out between patient rooms. My hands were doing their normal nurse stuff, vitals, meds, charts. But my mind was replaying those charges on Shelby's account. Not the money, the audacity. Because listen, helping someone is one thing. Being used without permission? That hits different. By the time I got home, I still had my badge on and my hair in a messy bun that looked like it had survived a tornado. I dropped my bag, fed my cat, toast, and opened my laptop. Way earlier than I needed to. The Zoom link sat there in my inbox like a dare. I stared at it, arms crossed, heart thumping way too loud. Part of me, this tiny, tired part, wanted to skip the call altogether. Pretend I didn't see it. Go take a bubble bath and ignore all the chaos my family was about to throw at me. But another part of me, the part that had been stepped on for almost a decade, was done running. So when the clock hit 7, I clicked the link. And just like that, my family popped onto the screen like a sitcom cast that hadn't been funny in years. Mom was front and center, of course. Perfect posture, perfect hair, perfect everything. You know that look moms get when they've rehearsed a speech? She had that. Dad hovered behind her like he wasn't sure if he was allowed to sit. And Shelby, oh my God. She flopped on the couch next to Mom with this irritated, get on with it face. It was like I'd interrupted their time. On a call they scheduled. About something they wanted. Classic Parker family logic. Mia, finally, Mom said. You're 2 minutes late. I checked the clock. It was literally 7:01. Whatever. Can we get to the point? Shelby said. I have stuff to do. Stuff to do? Like logging into my accounts and pretending we're the same person? But I held my tongue. Barely. Mom folded her hands like she was about to deliver a sermon. Your sister cannot graduate unless this last balance is handled. The school has already reached out. She said it like I should be embarrassed by that. I took a breath. A long one. I'm not paying it, I said. If the room had been real instead of digital, I think you would have heard a pin drop. Or maybe Shelby's jaw hitting the floor. Mom blinked twice, slow, like her brain was buffering. What did you just say? I said I'm not paying, I repeated. Calm. Steady. Dad scratched the back of his neck like he wanted to disappear into the drywall. Shelby leaned forward, squinting at her screen. Are you serious right now? Don't start acting brand new, Mia. You've always taken care of this. Yeah. That sentence. Right there. That's the one that lit the fuse inside me. I didn't take care of anything, Shell, I said. I was manipulated into covering things you should have handled yourself. Her eyebrows shot up. Wow. Manipulated? You're being dramatic. Dramatic. Me. Girl. I sat up straighter. Did you or did you not use my card info without asking? Shelby crossed her arms. It wasn't like that. Exactly like that, I shot back. Mom cut in, her voice sharp. We are not doing this. You've always helped the family. You should be proud of that. There it was. Helped the family. Translation. We take, you give, and don't complain. Mom continued, Shelby deserves a beautiful graduation day. If you make this difficult, you're going to ruin everything. Ruin everything. Like I was the problem. Mom, I said, I didn't create this mess. I'm just refusing to pay for it anymore. She stared through the screen like she was trying to bend me with her eyes. And then, with zero hesitation, she delivered the line that punched the air right out of my lungs. Well then, Mia, maybe you shouldn't show up at all. My whole body went cold. Not angry, just numb. They didn't want me there. Not because they were hurt. Not because they needed time. But because I wasn't useful anymore. And that moment, it changed everything. Because if they were willing to cut me out that easily, what else were they willing to do? And trust me, I found out sooner than I expected. When my mom told me not to show up, not to dare show my face at Shelby's graduation, I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I didn't even blink. I just sat there, staring at her little Zoom square, feeling this weird, icy stillness move through my chest. It was like my body finally understood something my heart had been refusing to see for years. If love was supposed to feel like home, then this wasn't love. And it damn sure wasn't home. But of course, Shelby wasn't done. Oh, please, she scoffed. You're acting like this is a big deal. You're the one choosing to make it weird. Just pay your part and this wouldn't even be happening. My part. Funny how my part was always the full bill. I leaned back in my chair, hands folded, voice quiet in that dangerous way. The only thing I'm choosing, I said, is myself. Shelby rolled her eyes so hard I'm pretty sure she saw her own brain. God, you're exhausting. Mom shot her a warning look but then turned back to me. Mia, this is your sister's special moment. Don't be selfish. That word. Selfish. The word they always threw at me when I set a boundary. I didn't bother responding. The silence between us got heavy, thick, like the moment right before a storm cracks the sky open. Dad finally spoke up, voice small. Mia, maybe just pay it this one last time. For peace. For peace. I repeated softly. For their peace, he meant. Never mine. I could have ended the call right there. But something in me wanted to see how far they'd push. How deep the entitlement went. So I stayed. And wow, they did not disappoint. Mom sighed dramatically, as if I were the one being unreasonable. All right, Mia, she said. If you're insisting on doing this, then you need to understand something. Her tone shifted, sharp, clipped, surgical. If you don't pay this balance, then you are solely responsible for the consequences. The consequences? I said. What consequences? Shelby leaned forward like she'd been waiting for this part. The school emailed me, she said, and apparently someone tried to freeze the account. They think it was you. Freeze the account? My heart thumped once, a low, heavy hit. I didn't freeze anything, I said. At least, not yet. Shelby smirked. But you were snooping in it, right? You always check my stuff. You're obsessed with controlling things. I laughed. An actual laugh. Sharp and disbelieving. Shelby, you used my financial information to open those drafts. That's not snooping. That's fraud. Her face twisted. You're being dramatic again. It's not fraud if it's family. And right there, that line, was the exact moment something inside me broke clean in half. Not shattered. Not crumbled. Just snapped. Like a string pulled too tight for too long. Shelby, I said slowly. Using my identity without permission is literally the definition of fraud. Before she could argue, I pulled up my email and clicked Share Screen. Their faces turned pale as my inbox appeared, filled with alerts from the school, my bank, my credit monitoring. Mia, stop, Dad said, voice shaky. Don't show all that. Why not? I said quietly. You all caused it. Mom inhaled sharply, jaw clenching. You're making a spectacle out of nothing. A spectacle? I repeated. You banned me from a graduation I paid for. You used my accounts behind my back. You tried to guilt-trip me into covering everything again. And I'm the spectacle. Mom glared through the screen. If you walk away from this family, Mia, don't expect us to come chasing after you. And that right there, was the moment I realized the truth. They'd never chase me, because they'd never valued me. They only valued what I provided. So I ended the call. No big speech. No dramatic exit. Just one click. The screen went dark. But the fallout hadn't even begun. Because the very next morning, I woke up to something that made my stomach drop. Something that told me my family wasn't just entitled. They were willing to play dirty. And trust me, you're not ready for what they did next. I didn't sleep much after that Zoom call. You'd think I'd be angry, right? Shaking, pacing, throwing pillows. Something dramatic like in the movies. But no. I just lay there staring at the ceiling, feeling this weird combination of heartbreak and relief. Like I'd finally put down a backpack I didn't even realize I'd been carrying since I was a teenager. But the next morning, that relief evaporated real quick. I woke up to 12 missed messages. All from my mom. And Shelby. And one from Dad that just said, "Call us. Now." I ignored all three. But then, when I went to pay my rent online, my card got declined. Not like insufficient funds, declined. More like, your account access has been restricted. I froze. My checking account was fine the night before. I'd checked it out of paranoia. So I logged into my banking app. And that's when I saw it. A notification at the top in bright red. Password changed at 5:42 a.m. My heart slammed so hard I actually put a hand to my chest. Because I sure as hell wasn't awake at 5:42 a.m. I tried logging in again. Locked out. Then I checked my email. Locked out of that too. I checked my credit monitoring app. Yep. Locked out. That's when it hit me. Someone wasn't just messing with my money. They were messing with me. I stood there in my tiny kitchen, coffee brewing behind me, toast meowing at my ankles, and I felt this cold, crawling feeling slide up my spine. My family was retaliating. And not in some petty, silent treatment way. No. This was personal. Calculated. Like someone had sat down and said, "How do we hit Mia where she actually feels it?" It didn't take a genius to figure out who. Shelby. Because Mom wouldn't know how to hack her way into a toaster. Dad wouldn't try something like this even if he was desperate. And Shelby. Well, she was the type who thought consequences were optional. So yeah, I called the bank. And guess what the rep told me? "Ma'am, someone attempted to add a secondary phone number to your account and requested full access. We flagged it due to unusual activity." My throat went dry. "What number?" I asked. She read it. Out loud. It was my parents' home number. I swear, I had to sit down. I wasn't just being financially leaned on anymore. I was being targeted. And something about that flipped a switch in me. Because if there was one thing I'd never been allowed to do growing up, it was defend myself. But now they'd messed with the wrong version of me. The adult me. The one who pays attention. The one who documents stuff. The one who's tired of being the family debit card with legs. So I grabbed my keys, threw on a hoodie, and drove straight to the bank. In person. I sat down with a rep, this calm, middle-aged woman with the patience of a saint, and I told her everything. Not the emotional stuff. Just the facts. Unauthorized access attempt. Password changes I didn't request. Phone number added without my consent. 3 failed logins. Suspicious activity on my credit. She typed everything up, nodding quietly, then said, "Okay, Mia, we're going to secure your accounts. Completely. Today. New password. New two-factor. New PIN. New recovery email. New everything." I felt myself breathe for the first time in hours. But the rep wasn't done. "This was a very intentional attempt," she said. "You'll want to consider filing a fraud alert with the credit bureaus. And if you know who did this, you may need to file a police report." I swallowed hard. A police report. Against my own family. I left the bank with a folder full of paperwork. Sat in my car. Closed the door. And just let the silence press in on me. My hands were still shaking. Because here's the thing. There's a difference between being used and being attacked. And my family had crossed that line like it didn't even exist. But this is where it gets even wilder. Because later that same afternoon, right when I thought things couldn't get messier, Shelby called me. From a random number. And the first thing she said was, "You need to stop screwing things up, Mia, or you're gonna regret it." Her voice wasn't shaky. It wasn't scared. It wasn't sorry. It was confident. Too confident. Like she knew something I didn't. And she did. Oh boy, she did. When Shelby called me from that random number, I almost didn't answer. But curiosity. Yeah, that's my toxic trait. So I picked up. And the first thing out of her mouth, that cold, snappy threat, hit me like a slap. "You need to stop screwing things up, Mia, or you're gonna regret it." No hello. No, how are you? Just pure attitude. I pressed the phone against my ear, trying to keep my voice steady. "What exactly am I supposed to regret, Shell?" She exhaled dramatically, like I was the one being unreasonable. "You're making this whole situation insane. All you had to do was pay the damn balance like always, and none of this drama would even be happening." There it was again. That magical word in my family dictionary. Always. Always pay. Always fix. Always sacrifice. Always shut up. Well, not anymore. "Shelby," I said, "someone tried to get into my bank accounts. Someone changed my passwords. Someone added mom and dad's phone number. That wasn't a misunderstanding. That was intentional." She didn't even hesitate. "So what? We needed access. You weren't cooperating." I literally pulled the phone away from my ear and stared at it, like it might suddenly sprout legs and explain itself. "You needed access?" I repeated. "Shelby, are you hearing yourself? That's illegal." "Not if we're family," she snapped. There it was. The Parker family motto. If we want it, it's ours. But then Shelby's voice shifted. Not softer. Just edgier. Like she was walking into a threat on purpose. "You're making this harder than it needs to be," she said. "And honestly, Mom's right about you. You think you're better than us just because you moved away and got some little hospital job." My jaw clenched. A little hospital job? She kept going, not even breathing. "You need to chill. Mom's already stressed enough, and now you're out here making her look stupid. People are talking, Mia." That part made my stomach go cold. "Who's talking?" I asked. She hesitated. Just a beat. But I heard it. "A lot of people," she finally said. "Aunt Tara, Uncle Joe, Grandma Pat, everyone. They think you're being dramatic. And childish. And honestly, kinda spiteful. There it was. The smear campaign. Classic. If you don't obey, they control the narrative. If you don't play the part they wrote for you, they rewrite you. I laughed. Quiet, bitter, tired. So now the whole family thinks I'm a villain because I won't bankroll your graduation? Shelby didn't deny it. Instead, she hit me with something worse. You brought this on yourself, Mia. Mom said it best. If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. I felt my breath catch. Mom said that. About me. The girl who paid for 8 years of their problems. I swallowed hard. Shelby, what else did she say? Another pause. This one longer. Heavier. Then she said it. She said you've always been difficult. And honestly, I agree. You ruin every big moment in this family. Every single one. Something inside me cracked at that. Not because it was true, but because I'd spent years trying so hard not to be that person. And they still painted me as the problem. I took a breath. A slow, grounding one. Shelby, I'm done. I'm not paying. I'm not apologizing. And I'm not letting you talk to me like this. Oh, you will, she said, voice suddenly low. Because if you don't, Mom's planning something. My stomach dropped. What does that mean? She hesitated again. And this one wasn't attitude. This one was fear. I shouldn't have said anything, she muttered. Just, don't be surprised if the school calls you. My pulse jumped. The school? Why? She hung up. Just like that. No explanation. No warning. Nothing. I stared at my phone, heart hammering in my chest, realizing two things at once. Shelby wasn't smart enough to come up with this mess on her own. Mom had moved from manipulation to strategy, and whatever she'd told the school, whatever she tried to pin on me, it wasn't small, because 2 hours later, standing in my kitchen, drinking cold coffee, my phone rang. It was the dean's office, and the tone in the woman's voice when I answered? Yeah, she wasn't calling to chat. When the dean's office number flashed across my screen, I swear my heart did a full gymnastics routine in my chest. I almost didn't answer, almost let it ring into the void. But avoiding things hadn't saved me before. So I picked up. Hello, I said, trying to sound like a normal human and not a woman whose entire family had just gone nuclear. Hi, is this Mia Parker? The dean's voice was polite, but stiff. The kind of tone people use when they're about to ruin your afternoon. Yes, this is her. Well, Miss Parker, we need to discuss an issue regarding your sister Shelby's student account. My whole body tensed. Here we go. She continued. We received a formal report this morning stating that you attempted to sabotage Shelby's graduation eligibility by unlawfully accessing and freezing her financial records. I blinked. Hard. Excuse me. The dean read it again slowly, as if I hadn't heard. My brain went blank. Like TV static. Ma'am, I finally managed. I didn't freeze anything. I didn't even have access to freeze anything. Someone else impersonated me. She paused. According to the report we received, the impersonation was done by you. I felt cold. Like ice under the skin cold. Because this wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't confusion. This was a setup. My family hadn't just spun a story. They'd filed a formal accusation. Who filed this? I asked, though I already knew. There was a rustle of papers. It was submitted by your mother, Denise Parker. Of course. Of course it was her. I swear I could see her smug face in my mind, smiling that soft, disappointed smile she used when she thought she'd taught me a lesson. Mia, the dean continued, I don't want to assume anything, but the allegation is serious. Academic fraud is a criminal issue. We need your statement. My statement? My throat tightened. I could barely breathe. Dean Harris, I said, forcing my voice steady. I didn't touch Shelby's account, but someone else definitely touched mine. And they used my identity to try to get access to multiple financial platforms. A long pause. Then she said something I wasn't expecting. Do you have any documentation? Yes. Yes, I did. I had screenshots. I had bank reports. I had locked out emails. I had timestamps. I had every receipts folder a paranoid adult could ever dream of. I do, I said. And I'll forward everything. Her voice shifted, less stiff, more cautious. Please do that. Before we take next steps. Next steps. That phrase hit me hard, because I knew exactly what that meant. If I didn't prove myself, I wouldn't just be dealing with a bitter family. I'd be dealing with a legal mess. All because my mom couldn't control me anymore. When the call ended, I didn't cry. I didn't even sit down. I just stood there in the middle of my kitchen, palms pressed against the counter, breathing like I'd just run a marathon uphill. My own mother reported me, trying to pin a financial crime on her own daughter, the daughter who paid for everything. You'd think I'd be furious, but honestly, I just felt hollow, because betrayal hits different when it's not random, when it's not unexpected, when it comes from the exact person you spent your whole life trying to keep happy. I grabbed my laptop and sent the dean every file I had, every alert, every lockout, every notice from the bank. Then something I never expected happened. An hour later, my phone vibrated again. It was a text from a number I didn't recognize. This got out of hand. You need to know something. Dad. My stomach dropped. I opened it. And I swear, my hands shook reading the next message. Your mother didn't just file a report. She went to the police. She's trying to say you stole from Shelby. My head spun. No. No way. But Dad wasn't done. She's saying you took money from Shelby's account and ruined her graduation on purpose. Shelby's backing her up. I'm sorry. I didn't know she'd go this far. My entire world tilted. They hadn't just lied. They had doubled down. They were building a case. Against me. I dropped onto the couch, the room spinning, because the truth had finally become impossible to ignore. This wasn't a family conflict anymore. This was a war. And my own mother had positioned herself as the general. But here's what none of them knew. Not Mom, not Shelby, not even Dad. They'd pushed me so far. I wasn't afraid anymore. And fear was the only thing that ever kept me quiet. When Dad told me Mom had gone to the police, I didn't shout. I didn't throw anything. I didn't spiral. I just went still. Like that moment right before you dive into deep water, when your lungs fill, your muscles tense, and your body quietly decides, okay, let's end this. Because if my family wanted a war, then fine. But I wasn't gonna fight it scared. I texted Dad back. I need to know exactly what Mom told them. He replied almost instantly, like he'd been waiting for me. She said you drained Shelby's account. She said you sabotaged the graduation. She said you froze her financial aid. She's trying to frame it as jealousy. Jealousy. I actually laughed. Like a genuinely unhinged laugh. Because the girl who paid for everything, was being called jealous of the girl who contributed nothing. You can't make this stuff up. But the worst part, Dad added. Shelby is repeating everything word for word. They rehearsed it. My stomach twisted. They didn't just lie. They practiced lying. And I knew right then. This wasn't about the money. This wasn't about graduation. This was about control. My mother couldn't stand that I'd broken script. So she wrote a new one. One where I was the villain. Well, if she wanted a story, I was gonna give her the ending she didn't expect. I drove straight to the police department, wearing scrubs, hair a mess, heart pounding like a drumline. The officer at the desk recognized my name immediately. Oh, Miss Parker. We were actually going to contact you. Fantastic. They led me to a small interview room. Cold metal chair. Neutral walls. Fluorescent lights that make everyone look guilty. The officer sat across from me, flipping through a file. Your mother provided quite a bit of information, he said. False information, I replied, calmly. Can you prove that? I can. And boy, could I. I handed him the folder the bank rep helped me put together. Every alert. Every lockout. Every unauthorized access attempt. Every timestamp. Every notification linked to my parents' home number. He flipped through it slowly. Then slower. Then he stopped on the log showing someone tried adding a new phone number to my bank account at 5:42 a.m. Was this you? He asked. No, I said. That was my family. Trying to get into my accounts. He nodded once, sharp and focused, like something had clicked. Then I showed him the credit lockout, the email breach, the security warnings, the attempts to change recovery questions. Finally, I opened the audio note I had, the automatic recording of Shelby bragging months ago about using Mia's info for little things. He listened carefully. When it finished, he leaned back. Miss Parker, from what I'm seeing, this doesn't look like you committing fraud. He paused. This looks like fraud committed against you. My chest tightened. Not from fear. From validation. For the first time in years. So, he said slowly, would you like to press charges? I stared at him. The weight of that question hit me hard. Press charges? Against my own family. A few months ago, I would have whispered no, apologized, and run home to fix everything. But now I finally saw the whole picture. They weren't going to stop. Ever. Not unless I stopped them first. So I met the officer's eyes and said, yes, I want to file. I won't pretend it was easy. It wasn't. Dad called crying. Mom called screaming. Shelby sent me a 2-paragraph rant about how I'd destroyed her life. But here's the wild part. Within a week, the police had enough evidence to shut everything down. Mom was warned. Shelby was placed under investigation. The school officially cleared my name. The dean emailed me personally to apologize. And Shelby's graduation? Yeah. She didn't walk. Not because of me. Because actions, real actions, have consequences. And for the first time in my life, someone else finally told my family the word I'd been terrified to say out loud. No. It's been months since everything exploded. I'm in therapy. I'm rebuilding my credit. I blocked half my relatives. I finally sleep at night. And the wildest thing? Silence doesn't scare me anymore. It feels like peace. Like choosing myself wasn't selfish. It was survival. And if you've ever been the responsible one, the fixer, the golden goose, you know exactly what I mean. Because sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from the people who taught you to shrink. I didn't destroy my family. I just stopped letting them destroy me. If any part of my story hit close to home, please like, share, and subscribe to Silent Revenge Lab. I promise, you're not the only one learning how to stand up again.